To the second in a series of Calabasas library programs called Spring into Creativity. These programs are funded by a grant from Library Services and Technology Act through the California State Library. And we're having these programs every Wednesday from 1 o'clock on through May. And you could see all the programs and sign up on our website. And I just want to talk about a few other programs that the library has. Of course, since March, we've been doing appointment-based checkout. We have all the online resources. We have online book clubs, film fanatics, tutoring, story times, and you can check all those things on our library website to access them. So as Carolyn said, these programs will be recorded, and then if you miss this or one of your neighbors wants to see it, you can look at the calendar of events on the original day, and the YouTube of this will be posted. So you can always look at it later. If you feel like you didn't have enough time and you want to go back and look at some more, detailed instruction, you can do it then. And as always, please fill out either the paper survey that came with your kit or an online survey at the end of the program, because we have to submit those to the state library. So let me start by introducing SP Harper. She'll be our instructor for the next two programs. This is on watercolor and the next one is on oil pastels. So SP, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit.
Welcome everybody. Future artists, current artists. We're going to do watercolor today. And a little bit about my background is I studied fine arts, and I am an eco-centric artist. I paint and I construct gems. That is my still life. My grandfather was a diamond cutter, and I just like them as abstract geometrics. You can see behind me some of the pieces in my studio, but I'm big on upcycling and using existing materials. For instance, the one over here, it's a milk crates that I cut out using a diamond blade, put that together. And this is an existing painting actually from the Salvation Army that I painted over. And I'll take, so you can see a sample. I'm gonna stop my video and you can see one of my paintings. That is, for instance, my work, that is a brilliant cut citrine, and it is on a wallpaper. So you can see, if you look closely at the citrine, there's a bird, because that was part of the wallpaper. So usually you see what was there before, and then I repurpose. All right, so and I've done watercolors also of the gems. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do two assignments. So make sure that you all have at least 2 pieces of paper, something that's 9 by 12. Make sure that you have your watercolors. Make sure you have a little cup of water, and then you have a brush and maybe some, like a paper towel or something like that. So the first thing we're going to do is just a lesson in 3-dimensional form. I did a little drawing, but we're going to be doing it in watercolor. And how we always work is we start with a pencil sketch to do the outside, and then you're going to be filling it in with watercolor. And so we're going to do a pencil sketch, and then we fill in the entire inside of the object that you are illustrating with like a slight pool of water. And then you add the watercolor to that, and it kind of seeks its own path, and it becomes sort of like a little lake in a way, you'll see. Anyway, but here, this is a drawing that I did, so you know what we're doing on the piece of paper. And we're gonna look, this is a sphere, and we're gonna have a light source, which is from the upper left. Usually with all still life action pictures, usually the light source is usually from the upper left going down, the shadows on the lower right, because if you remember in movies, the good guys always come in from the left-hand side. So that's just like a good lesson. All right, so what we're going to do is get you out your piece of paper and your pencil, and you're going to make at least this large, make it as large as possible that you feel comfortable with on your white piece of paper. Please do a circle in pencil. Here's my circle. Now we're going to also put a shadow because we don't want our circle floating in space. We want to anchor it to the ground with gravity. So usually a shadow is the same shape as the object that you're drawing, but it's usually at an angle. So we're going to draw under the circle an oval. Here's the drawing, then I'll do it again. Here's my shadow area. It's on, remember it's on the left, right hand side because it's away from the light source. The light source is coming from up there. So now you're set to go ahead and start painting because this is your guide. It's sort of your map. So what we want to do with these watercolors is you want to, I call it charging them. You got to charge them. So that means you got to get them nice and juicy and wet. So here's my cup of water. Also a rule of thumb when you're doing watercolors and if your water ever gets kind of dirty, you want to empty it and get fresh water. You can't do that enough. All right, so here's my watercolors and I'm wetting every single one. Put a lot of water on there because you want to charge them. You want to get them ready to work well. Okay, now I'm going to just, we could spend a whole hour doing this, but I think we should go ahead and just do still lifes with watercolor. But I just want to show you, this is something that I created. These are primary colors, and these are colors from the watercolor palette in the center right here. That's red, that's right off of the board, and that's blue right off of the board, and yellow right off of the board. And this is, we do have orange. You would need to mix that, but just to know that all the colors that you see there are from the primary colors, and the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. So you have orange there. You don't need to mix it, but just to know, if you didn't have those colors, you could mix red, you could mix yellow, and it could become orange. Okay, you do have purple on your board, but if you didn't, what purple is red, blue together mixes and makes purple, and the blue and the yellow mixes together to make green. And then you do have green, so you don't need to do that. So if you only had these three colors, you could still work. It's good to have a black too. You never have white in watercolors. White is the paper. So watercolors, you don't really work over it or put white on it like acrylic paints. You leave the white parts blank and the paper becomes the white. All right, and just to know, with watercolors, directly, we're getting ours nice and juicy, so they're gonna look like this. But if they weren't, and you added some water, and if you look at your watercolors, there's this little, this is like a palette. You could also use a plate. You could use one of your ceramic plates from your kitchen, or you could use a paper plate, because all watercolors are water soluble and they're all washable. You can't, acrylics, if they dry on your clothes, you can't get it off, or oil, but this you can. But you can use this as a palette. So let's say, oh, I want to do pink. I don't know, do red. I want to do a tint. You add water to it. So in other words, it's white and red mixed is pink. And then to do shades, it's red and black. You mix that and you get a shade of the red, which I would call that maroon. I would call this butterscotch, you know, or, you know, it's adding black. That's, you know, ochre, like a sea green, a deep eggplant. Anyway, so all these colors can be created from your little palette that you have. All right, so for a little exercise, just now that these are all nice and wet, I want you to try every single color down the side of your page. I'm going to do it too. So here's your page right here. So I want you to, in the order that's in your palette, not your palette, but your board of paints, just start to make a little marks of everyone. Just so they're samples. So anytime you're working with any medium, you could do it on a different page if you want. I sort of just like it here so you can look at it and refer to it. So I'm going to do mine. If you have any questions, wave or, you know, put it in the chat or speak up and we can answer them. I don't know. You might be on mute right now. Okay. And okay, in between each color, you need to rinse your brush in the water. And if you don't thoroughly wash your brush, you're going to get kind of a muddy color. Okay, I'm on orange. Now I'm on yellow.
Hello, could you hold up what you're doing?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just doing, I'm using every single little pot of paint that I have on my board, and I'm just doing a little sample rundown on the side. So I know what I have to work with. Okay, here's all my colors. I have it in an angle because watercolors, if I hold it up, it's going to drip, but you know, that's just the facts of life of watercolors. Is everyone finished with that? I see everyone's working. That's good. When you're finished, you can look up and then I can know that I can go to the next step. Should I move on? How are you guys? Good? Okay. Oh, and just to know, this pencil drawing that I did it extra dark so you could see it. But if you wanted to the pencil to disappear in the end and it just be the watercolor, you just have to sketch it a little lighter. Or once you do the watercolor, leave the pencil kind of in the clear and you can erase it afterwards. But it's a good guide. All right, so now what you want to do is all the parts that are in the circle, this little lake here, and this shadow area, you want to wet it with clear water. You can't see it because there's no paint in it yet. I guess you could see it if you put the light. If you see it, if you put it to the side to the light, you can see it.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
Esty,
yeah,
did you
yes,
say to put water in the, I know to where the shadow is, but inside the apple as well?
yes. This is
Okay.
not a, this is, yeah, it will,
Or
we
the
will do an
circle.
apple next, but this is
Okay, the circle.
our globe or our ball. It's our ball.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Here, can you see the reflections on mine? See how it's wet? I can see it, Lisa, on the camera. Okay, once you do that, then not red, because we're going to do red on the apple, and not yellow because we're going to use that on the apple too. Pick one of the other colors that you like. I think I'm going to do blue. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to add paint to your wet circle in this fashion. Okay. Shadow, you're going to be using black for that, and it's going to be a tint of black, and you're just going to dip your brush in the black paint and then put it in this wet section, and it should fill that part in. I'll do it and I'll show you. And then the ball, in the shadow area, you're going to get it really, you're going to use a lot of paint in this area and make it as dark as possible through here. And then this part up here is going to be a light tint with lots of water in it, because you want to create a 3D. Okay, I'm going to do it. Try it out. You can't make a mistake, by the way. You can start all over. Now, here's another thing to know that, oh, you put your blue paint in or whatever color you're doing. Oh no, it's too dark up here. It's too dark. Well, you get your paper towel and you sop it up in that section. So I know watercolor isn't that forgiving, but you can erase. I mean, you can definitely lighten with paper towels. Okay, I'm going to try mine now. Everybody else should be too.
Hi there. So we're just shadowing. We're not going into the center. Are we going all over with the color we choose?
Yeah, you're gonna put a lot of the color blue. I'm going to do blue. I'm going to put a lot of blue through this section, and I'm going to put less blue up here, and I'm going to use more water in this section so it's more transparent. I'm going to do one right now, but I just wanted you to see this to understand where the painting is coming from. Okay, here goes. Oops. Now, when I'm looking at my paints, oh my gosh, I picked the brown one by mistake, but luckily I have my little guide on the side here, so I can know, oh, I picked the wrong one. I don't want brown, I want black. So I can fix it. Okay, I've done the shadow. It was wet, and then I took the black and I touched it in there, and it filled into the river area. And I added a little bit darker black right under the ball, because the shadow right under the ball is darker than these outside areas. Now I'm going to do the inside of the ball. And I'm just going to let nature take its course. I'm going to let the water take the paint where it wants it to go, because then it seems very artful.
May I ask another question?
Yes.
I think I'm using sketch pad paper, which is not coming out, kind of splotchy. So I'm using the wrong kind of paper.
I'm using sketch paper myself, and it's okay. It's watercolor paper is the preferred paper because it's super, super thick and it doesn't wrinkle. Well, mine's going to be fine, but it will be a little wrinkly because it's just drying paper. I do have watercolor paper, but I just wanted to use this because I figured you'd be using this too. So then when it's dry, I will flatten it under a book. But yeah, it's nice to buy real watercolor paper. It's usually about 90 pounds heavy. It's really heavy.
SP, I gave out
Yeah.
cardstock.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's good. Well, cardstock's, that's much better. I'm just on a little flimsy piece of drawing paper. So cardstock, it shouldn't be so wrinkly. You should be okay. Okay, see, I'm starting mine. See how it's filling in? Okay, I'm going to keep on working on it. Okay. Now I even used a little bit of a, I used black here for the shadow underneath, and I made it darker right under the ball. And then I put most of my blue paint on the shadow. Oops, did I do that wrong? Uh-oh. Oh, I put the light. Oh, you know what? I'm going to show you how I'm going to correct it. Right now, I have this area, which is the light area. It's on the wrong side. I want it to be on this side over here. All right, so let me get a paper towel and I can show you how it's easy to fix something. So this light area right here, I want the lighter area to be on this side. I'm doing it opposite to you. So I made the mistake when I'm working backwards to you. Anyway, but I'm going to try to fix it. So I'm going to try to take some of this blue off right here, make the light part here and the dark part over here. Okay, and then I'm going to add some more of the blue into the shadow side. When I do the apple, I'll get that one right. Okay, here we go. Now it's working. I'm adding a lot more blue into my shadow area to make up for my little mistake. Yeah, but it's better. That's another thing about art, is that you can't make a mistake, but you're always revising. Okay, here, look, see how I corrected that mistake? Okay, how are you guys doing? Oh, look, let's see. Awesome, let me see that. Very good, very, very very good, A plus. You guys are good. Wow, oh, that's a really nice one. That's really nice. Very good, you guys. You guys have this. Okay, so I'm not working with amateurs, I'm working with professionals. I see that. You guys are all advanced. Very good. Okay, we can start now on the apple. And just to know that you can do anything you want. If you want to, just do a pencil sketch. It doesn't have to be a ball. It's whatever you want to draw, and just use these same principles. And the world is your oyster. Okay, here goes. Now we're gonna do this apple one. The apple. Here's a drawing for it. This is what we're going to be. This is how we're going to do it. It's the same principle. The light source is coming from the upper left, and then the shadow area is down here, and then you're going to draw the cast shadow. All right. Now it's nice to have. I think you guys have some drawings of one too. It's always nice if you have something around to look at. It's always a nice reference point. Okay, and as you're doing this, we're going to start with red, but just to see that apples do have a lot of different variants in them. So once you get the red done, we can come back in when it's a little bit more dry with your yellow and your red, and see the little marks? You can add that, but that's the second step. First, we want to do just the shadow area in the deep red and the highlight area in the lighter pink. And that when it's dry, it's best to do it when it's dry. You come in and you add little details. Okay, so first pencil sketch. As big as possible, like you did before. Okay, here's my drawing. Mine's darker. Mine's dark, because I want you to see it. But if you don't want to see it, you sketch it lightly. So anytime you do, like let's say you're going to do a globe, or you're going to do something that has a lot of detail, you're going to start by doing that globe with a big blue background and the very light highlight on one side. And then when it's dry, then you go back and you do the tiny little details. You draw in, South America, America. You could even do pencil on top of the watercolor. Anyway, but it's the first step is just to do like a color field. Okay, so now I'm going to start with red. Just do red and don't do yellow yet. Another idea is in the shadow area you use dark, deep red, and in the highlight area you could add a little yellow up here to the highlight area as a secondary color, but the shadow should be your blacks. Another thing to think about is sometimes shadows reflect the object that it is a shadow from. So you might want to add a little bit of the red into the shadow slightly, because it's reflecting, it reflects off of what it's next to. Okay, I'll do it and I'll show you. But it's basically the same principle as the sphere that you just did. And I know these are going to be so good, you're going to frame them when you're done. Finish when you're finished. I know I'm not supposed to say when you're done because that's only if you're baking something, it's done. When it's art, it's finished. But then there's another thing to be said that artists sometimes never know really when to quit an art piece. And actually, they never really quit one painting, they abandon it. Okay, this time I'm going to get the shadow right. I'm going to concentrate. Okay, I'm wetting the shape. The stem can be brown or black. Okay, mine's all wet now. You can see the reflection, it's all wet. Now I'm going to go and do, I think I'm going to do the apple first and then the shadow. My paper is buckling a little bit because mine's just sketching paper, but it will flatten when it dries, it flattens out. If you're really, serious and want to spend a lot of time on a watercolor, you should get watercolor paper, and you should get a board or a table that you can work on, and you need to masking tape it all the way around it. So when it gets really wet, it won't buckle or won't wrinkle. Okay, but this is fine. This is going to be fine. Okay, now, okay, I've done I haven't added the dark part yet onto the red. I'm going to add to the shadow a lot of red here. Here I'm coming along here. The more goopy and the more of my hand that you see it's watercolor, the better. Now I have my paper towel here, and I think, oh, I think it needs a little bit more of a highlight on the light area. So I'm going to dab some of the red off up here. Oops. So you can see this part is the part that I dabbed off because it has more of a light shadow on it. Now see how it's bleeding underneath? Well, it's bleeding because I'm holding it up, but that's okay because I want a little bit of red in that shadow. So that's going to work for me. Again, like you could say, Oh, SP, that's such a mess, but it's not really. It's a work in progress, and it's going to be fabulous. Okay. Now I'm going to do some I'm going to do the stem. And I'm also going to do the shadow underneath. And make the shadow right under the apple, the darkest part of the shadow, and it gets slightly lighter as you go out to your pencil line. Now, I think, do you have some color printouts of apples? Like one's a flat red apple, the other one doesn't have like some yellow streaks in it. Did you get that? Oh yeah, let me see that again. Yes, yes, I remember that. Okay. Oh yeah, that has a leaf too. I didn't think about that, but all right. You could add the leaf if you want. Okay, my apple's sort of like that one, but there should be one that has like some little yellow streaks in it. You can add that. You can add the yellow into there. Yeah, there. So I think I'm going to add a little of that yellow in there. Yes.
That's on the other side of the first page.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Again, I'm still doing these wash backgrounds. And then when it's all dry, I might come in with my brush again and do little details, do some of those little, they're sort of like little streaks. You can see it, especially in the one with yellow, you can see it has a little texture. You can add that, but when it's dry. Okay, I'm adding some yellow here. And also on my shadow area, I think I'm going to add some shadow. I might just, again, it's watercolor. Instead of black, I'm going to use some purple. I'm going to put purple or blue. I'm going to use some purple in the shadow area. I'm just going to add a little bit while it's still wet. I'll show you. My edges are a little bit messy, so I'm going to touch those up. If it gets a little bit unruly with being wet, if you wait till it dries to work back into it, that is a possibility. But it's nice to start in this like pool of water because then it looks very painterly. It's just, it sort of captures the essence of the watercolor. Now I'm adding some little details because it started to dry a tiny bit up here by this, so I wanted that to dip into this stem. I'm adding some yellow here in the highlights and some purple in the dark area. My shadow's gotten completely messy underneath because I've been holding it up to show you. So I'm going to try to fix that. I'm going to have it blend out. Next week when we do the pastels, we will have no dripping problem. I won't have any problem like that. I guess I could have had a separate camera, but this is okay. It kind of just gets you, you should be free when you're painting like this, and you should not be scared of making mistakes. It just is getting better and better. All my mistakes, I'm working it out more. See? How are you guys doing?
I think I have a tomato instead of an apple.
Okay, is it the shape or is it the orange color?
I don't know.
Let me see. Can I see? That's an apple. You guys, that's way better than my apple. That is 100% apple. That's, you know, that's like apple for the teacher. That's an A+.
It looks like a tomato to me.
Oh no. But tomatoes are orange. I would use a pure red on this. But you know what? There's no hard and fast rule.
I don't know,
Let's see. Anyone can show what they're doing.
well, my yellow dots have turned orange from the, you know, mixing the red and from mine.
Oh my gosh. Is that, did you paint that or is that the picture that you were given?
Yeah, right.
Is that the picture that, I swear, I mean it. Did you paint that?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's really good. You
Thanks.
guys, is that amazing? Is that amazing? That's very good.
Mine does
Wow.
not look like the
Great.
picture, but I like it anyway.
That's
Yeah,
great.
no, that was, you didn't have to, I also teach the masters of the 20th century, and I go and I get, you know, books from the library like Chagall, and we emulate him and we copy him. Where this is, the apple was just, you didn't have to copy it. I didn't have it to look at. I was just looking at this right here. So.
Well, that's good.
But it's just to free you up to know you can do anything that any kind of subject matter that you're interested in. Flowers is a really good thing, you know, to set up, you know, half of the battle is to find what you're going to paint. So still lifes on your dining room table, you know, a setup to look at and draw first and then paint is a really good thing. Vases are really good. A musical instrument, a violin or something, really good. And also it's a good size. Another flowers, really, really very good. And then, you know, you have to make the arrangement and you have to make it look good to your eye and then copy it as close as you can with your pencil sketch and then your colors. There's also a whole world of doing abstract too. I mean, you know, we just did Modigliani, and Modigliani has those horizontal and vertical boxes and grids using a ruler. You can do that kind of work with watercolor as well. Oh, let's see. Oh, excellent. That is so nice. We should, okay, I hope in the library there's going to be a place where you can have a gallery show of all these and sign them. And then eventually an opening, of course.
I have something to share since you like repurposing.
Yes, I want to see.
I use this for my watercolor paint. It's the fruit. It's a fruit container from
Oh, very
Costco.
good. Oh, I see that.
It's a fruit container from Costco and it has all these little sections. So you don't have to jump up and down and change the water all the time.
Good idea.
Each section and you have lots of little things like that that you get, you know, vegetables in or something, and they make great water containers. So just so you know.
I love that. That's a great idea. Watercolor is good. See, it's not permanent, so it's really on paper, and that's why you frame it and you put glass over it, because if you splatter water on it, it's not, you can't really fix it. Yeah, not like acrylic paint, which dries forever, and oil paint, oil paints you can work on for a month or so. It's always kind of wet, but you work into it and over it, but it will eventually dry in about 3 months, where acrylics, it's going to dry in an hour, but it's permanent, and it's opaque. Where watercolor, you have to leave the magic of the white paper, and it's not quite as forgiving, and but just forge ahead. No, it's not, you can't make a mistake. You know what, I'm going to show you one of my gem watercolors right now. Okay, here we are. Again, it's watercolor, so I keep it in plastic, you know, anything, because it's not framed. It's on a repurposed piece of board that I cut out in a circle. It was for an artist call, and the call was for, let's see, was it 13 inches? I don't know, it was a certain, it had to be in a circle. So I made this piece for the call, and it was for Bergamot Station, for this little gallery called BG Gallery.
Oh, wow.
See, it's and I just put it on this little board like this, but it's watercolor, so I have to be careful with it. So I keep it in a plastic bag.
Wow.
Okay, then here's another one. That's called a brilliant cut diamond, and I just used my imagination with the colors. Okay, here's another one. Oh wait, where did it go? Oh, here's one. Oh, here it is. Okay, here's another one. This is an Asher cut diamond, and this one has diamond dust on it.
Wow. Oh boy.
So again, the whites, the facets that are reflecting light, that's just the white of the paper. I just cut it out. This is how I work like that. Recycled things. And here, this one's called a princess cut. When it's a square, it's called princess. Here it is. This is a little one.
Ooh. That's so pretty.
Pete, there
So
was something in the chat. Someone in the chat, Lorraine asked in the chat if she could get a much closer look at the citrine wallpaper.
Oh, okay. I think I have the real thing I can hold it to you, but that's just my, you know, if you don't have if you stop video, that comes on. I'll put it on again. That's an acrylic painting, and the whites are oils, because that was my only way to get really opaque whites, was to use oil paint. And I have that painting. It's right here. Let me find it. Here it is. Okay, I'll take it off, and I'll put this back on. Here we go. Here it is.
Oh, wow.
So the background, it was kind of a yellowish. You can see the bird. And then I put it on the stretcher bars. It was like a canvas wallpaper, and then painted this on top. And it's got a lot of, this is acrylic, and it's a lot of metallic and iridescent paints. I have fun with that. And I tinted this blue. The reason why the blue background was to pop the gem off. So you want a contrast from the background to whatever you want your eyes to go to. You have to have a big contrast between those two things. Like Rembrandt paintings are so lovely and wonderful. The center section where the face is, there's whites and blacks, and then it fades around the outside to kind of just light grays and beiges, because your interest is where all the contrast is.
SB, how do
Oh,
you,
yeah.
how do you know where the white should be? Like when you're doing your gems, or when, how do you know if you're not looking at the thing to see how light is actually reflecting? Is it just an understanding of the way the light would bounce off a certain shape?
Yeah, it comes from a little bit of understanding from the basics, like when we did the sphere, when we did that globe, the ball, we got sort of an idea of what the concept is of, oh, it's dark on the shadow, it's light on the part that's closest to the light source. Oh, so you get that in your head. But I look at a photograph, just like this apple, I'm looking at a real apple to paint. You really, unless it's abstract, if you want it to be realistic, you should have some reference. So I look at photographs of gems, and when I'm squinting, I look at that gem. They're little pictures, but you know, it's just a guide. There are facets that are white. So when I'm doing a watercolor, I remember, do not paint over this, because I have a pencil sketch and I go, don't paint over that part. That's going to be the, you do have to think about it with watercolor, because you can never get it white, the white of the paper back. You can lighten it with the paper towel, but okay, another way to go is, let's say you have a perfect piece and your apple is dry and it's finished, and oh, you want to have a hot little white reflection or highlight like that sample that you have. You wait till it's dry, and then you go, you know, into your desk, you get your white out, or you get a white acrylic paint, and you can put that hot little reflection, that little highlight, you can paint it on top of watercolor with white acrylic. That's another, but when it's completely dry, it's the second step. Ooh, let's see some more apples. Also, let's think about what our next project is going to be, everybody, as a watercolor.